It's 2015. The U.S. government runs the national communication grid, comprised of the country's fiber optics, cables, and radio links. Access to the grid is open to all, on an equal basis for any application and any content. Most of the population now creates and shares media of all kinds. What their productions lack in polish and sophistication, they make up for in imagination. Thanks to the government-run grid, there is no longer a divide between urban and rural areas. The open access grid has ushered in the era of micropolitics. Every conceivable constituency can propose any initiative at any time, set up virtual debate space, and e-voting mechanisms. It all started in 1983 when the FCC forced the local phone companies to let all enhanced service providers use their wireless for free. Within a few years, thousands of internet service providers jumped at the chance to offer new services without the need to invest in costly networks. With the release of the Mosaic Internet browser in 1993, a new mass medium is born. Starting in 1995, DSL and cable modems turned the old phone and cable television networks into broadband, always-on information networks. During the next 10 years, a multitude of innovators build upon the open internet to offer new communication services that radically transform people's ability to create, share, and access information. In September 2006, the U.S. Congress decides that it is essential to preserve the Internet's openness. Strict rules forbid all network owners, telephone, cellular, and cable alike, to discriminate among users. They are not allowed to favor any traffic, nor to charge different fees for different users or different applications. Anyone can now provide any communication service over the carrier's networks. Walmart introduces low-cost Wall Media, their branded combination of wired and wireless internet access, voice and text communication, film and video distribution. In the next few years, amateur production of content explodes. YouTube and MySpace garner audiences that far surpass those of traditional television channels. Blogs have now replaced newspapers as most people's primary source of news. The net supports a vibrant public sphere where all constituencies find a voice, a virtual town hall, and viral tools to mobilize voters and make their voices heard. To sort through the massive amount of news, debates, games, music, video, and films, users rely on each other. Social filters, recommendation engines, distributed online marketplaces all allow them to find, discover, rank, and select materials that match their passions. Every device on the network is a server, whether in homes, public places, small business, or civic organizations. They support peer-to-peer communication tools, distribute user-produced stories, songs, and videos, host collaborative spaces that bring together families, work groups, clubs, churches, or citizens. A growing number of cities build their own Wi-Fi and fiber networks to foster greater civic internet use. However, funding for professionally produced premium content starts to decline, partly because it is impossible to guarantee the network performance that would allow optimum delivery of that content. Partly because peer-to-peer redistribution of pirated content proliferates, it is hard to maintain control over intellectual property now that a multitude of service providers operate over the network. By 2009, network owners are unable to raise funds to upgrade their networks. Verizon discontinues FiOS, and AT&T abandons Project Lightspeed. Cellular networks never fully upgrade to 3G. The network owners decide to become pure bit carriers, scale down their production and programming operations, and concentrate instead on cutting their costs down to a minimum, retaining only skeleton maintenance crews. Meanwhile, although content from millions of amateur sources is now available, Hollywood loses its preeminence as the world's main center of content production. Instead, big-budget entertainment is now produced in countries like China, France, and India, where the network owners keep tight control over who distributes what, and can thus guarantee protection of their intellectual property. By 2012, investment in the U.S. network infrastructure has now fallen so low that its derelict state resembles that of the nation's bridges and roads. To ward off catastrophic failure, the U.S. government takes over all communication networks, consolidating them into the government-run Information Distributor, or GRID. A new tax on advertising is created to fund the GRID. By 2015, the GRID provides uniform net access throughout the U.S. territory. The nation ranks a weak 29th in the OECD's assessment of broadband performance. But a dynamic community of users constantly invents new ways to squeeze extra bits out of the country's infrastructure. U.S. elites are dissatisfied with the poor performance of the national grid. They live in teleparks, the new gated communities, which tend to congregate in border cities and ports, where they can obtain easy access to foreign network headends and submarine high-capacity fiber.